All right, taping this a little after 8 o'clock on Sunday night Pacific time. Got to start a little early today because the Chiefs decided to show up for the 2021 season. It took them 10 weeks. Here they are. I lost money, of course. Who have you lost more money on, the Chiefs or the Broncos this season?
It's close. The Bucs are climbing their way up there too. And Texas Longhorns yesterday. Yeah, I don't know. It's equal opportunities. I've lost on every single team this year. But this we threw dirt on this Chiefs team just a little early, it looks like. It looks like it was up for the takings for the scariest team in the league. They're like, no one's standing out. And they're like, let's just remind everybody who's the best. And what did they re-sign? Travis Kelce? Because I don't remember seeing that guy for like 2 months. The guy that came out there today, and the fake punts and everything else. And they're in first place again.
Deshaun Jackson just giving the ball to the other team. That was happening.
What do you think that is?
Safeties dropping interceptions of the Raiders. Oh, yeah. It was a weird game. The score didn't reflect the game.
Real quick, the Deshaun Jackson thing. So he's made a career of this, right? Like he'll have a breakaway touchdown and he'll slow down at 3 and taunt receivers. Does he have like a tick, something in his head where he needs it more challenging? Why did he turn into the only guy he needed to beat? He was so much faster than everybody else. I don't know. Whatever. What was it?
Was that a 10-point game or a 13-point game when that happened? Because it did feel like they were going to go toe-to-toe for scores, and then all of a sudden the game was
13.
Over.
That would have cut it to 6. I think that's what it was. Yeah.
Well, the big story, forget the Chiefs. We'll talk about them later. The big story, this was the weekend that a Cowboys Patriots Super Bowl I started to really think about. What it would do for our friendship. Combined, how many seats we'd have to ask for because the game's in LA. What would the pod be like before the game? What would the pod be like that night? Would we have to wait a couple hours until the loser cooled off?
Wow.
It really started to feel real today, Sal.
I think you're right. Someone pointed out to me, one of our friends pointed out, like between you and Bill, this is the biggest point differential for wins you guys have had in the same day, right? Like probably, what was it, like 70-point win combined?
Yeah.
And Cowboys win over the Falcons and you're shellacking of the Browns. You guys look good. I mean, the Falcons are technically were a playoff team in the NFC before today, but you beat up on a pretty sturdy Browns team. Didn't look like it, but it looked like they were going to be physical with you. They took a 7-0 lead, and you never looked back after that.
We scored 45 straight. Your game was over in 2 minutes. It was 7-0, and Matt Ryan was doing the backpedal, look nervous thing, and then you just scored every time you had the ball. Our game, it looked like it was going to be a old school, maybe there's 10 possessions total in the game slugfest. And then the Browns, as soon as you get the lead on them, it's kind of over for them. With Baker with one arm, you're 21-7. You might as well be up 40-7 at that point.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, first of all, your guy, Mac and Cheat. I mean, we never talked about the holding when he pulled the jersey. He should have been suspended 4 games. So I don't even know why they let him play today. But Mac and Cheat went out and just went nuts. 19 for 23, 198, 3 touchdowns. I don't know if Case Keenum is better than Baker. I definitely don't think they should re-sign him. I really don't. I think there's some nice options for the Browns out there. Could be Rodgers, could be Wilson, could be Jimmy G. I take all those guys plus the top 2 or 3 incoming draftees too.
Did you call Mac Jones Mac and Cheat? You called the offensive rookie of the year.
Yeah, Mac
the best pick in the draft. If we have a redraft, he goes either first or second, depending on how you feel about Trevor the Fumbler Lawrence.
Yeah.
You called him Mac and Cheat because he grabbed somebody's ankle? People just hate the Patriots.
If Fields
had done that, if Fields had done that in the Bears-Steelers game, everybody was like, oh, great play, savvy. Oh, classic Bears. 85 Bears are back.
I
Mac
agree.
Jones, that's like cheater.
Yeah. Well, Mac and Cheat is too good to pass up. But I have to say, from your perspective,
I didn't like it.
This is the first time you have bragging rights over Tom Brady, right? First time Belichick has bragging rights. Like I know you probably won a game when they've lost a few weeks ago. New Orleans, I think you had won that game. But this is right. This is like, we could go as far as that team in the playoffs. And to add to that, Tom Brady needed Belichick today. This is the kind of game, probably the first time he missed them, because with Belichick as coach, they don't lose that game coming off a bye, off a loss. They don't look as unprepared as they did going to Washington. Team had like 31st in the league defensively and lose Chase Young early on. That was a disgusting display.
Sal, much like Mark McGuire, I'm not here to talk about the past.
Oh.
I'm here to talk about the present and the future. And his name is Mac Jones. Mac Jones was unbelievable in that game today. Oh, my God. I watched with Kyle. Kyle can attest. I was letting out noises like Meg Ryan and the When Harry Met Sally Deli. I was I was having a stroke. He was threading the needle. He's throwing like lob passes. He's hitting guys in double coverage, doing little play action. It really, really felt like early 2000s Pats, which is I've been saying on this podcast for multiple weeks. And it's really one of the only things I've been right about the last month with football. But this coming out when they were 2-4, it still felt like it was a playoff team. They're good. They're well-rounded. They can run the ball. They can throw the ball. They have a pass rush. They don't get beat on big plays. They have a good special teams, although the punt returning today was bad. But it's a good team. They've won 4 straight. They have like a plus 98 point differential for the season. And you look around the AFC, it's like, who do I like? Do I like Tennessee? Tennessee's 8-2. Do they feel like an 8-2 team?
Well, that's the thing. So every team has at least 2 losses, right? Like I don't remember ever going this far where a team was either, we had at least one undefeated team or 1 or 2 or 3 one-loss teams. Everybody's got 2 losses. We often talk about who's out of who we kicking out, who we cross off, for playoff consideration. Let's do it the other way. How many teams can win the Super Bowl? I might put your Patriots in there. I don't even want to say it. I might put them in there. I think they could actually do it.
I emailed our one of our guys at FanDuel because Dallas is plus 470 to win the NFC right now. The Pats have dropped to 13-1. They're 31-1 2 weeks ago. Combined, it's basically 780-1 if you put those two together. Or it's
780.
I mean 78-1. So you bet
78-1. Yeah.
You bet 100, you win 7,800.
Well,
I asked them. I was like, "Hey, FanDuel, boost that for us. Instead of 78-1, what about a little 100-1 for the Bill Sal Super Bowl?"
I like that.
People can go bet on it on FanDuel, but they were like, "Hey, we need a day. That's a lot. That's a high thing." I'm like, "Well, you better figure it out because Dallas, New England is in play."
They should figure it out. In the meantime, we should bet it whenever they come out with it, whether they boost it or not, because we're going to be at each other's throats. That's going to be very, very emotional.
It's going to be hard. That's going to be a hard couple weeks for us, especially if we're both in the playoffs feeling like we might see each other.
The other thing is, how do we do a podcast after that? I'm not talking immediately after that, but maybe that's it. Right?
That's our final pod. It's like Sopranos. We just said, don't stop believing.
It's my favorite time of the week, but I feel like, where do we go from there? And Pat's still plus 440 to win the East. How is that possible?
I couldn't believe that because we still play Buffalo twice.
Right.
This Pats team, Belichick really likes them. And usually, especially during the Brady era, he was always kind of like tough dad when they would have a big win. He'd be like, "Oh, we still got some work to do." And, the Pats would win like 40-3. He'd be like, "Well, there's some stuff out there I didn't really like." And just like constant wet blanket. I think he really likes this team. Go read the quotes and go watch the video. Not that you would, but after this game when he's just like, "That was awesome. We had so many guys make great plays all around the ball. What a great team win." Like really effusively positive. And he should have been because they really beat the hell out of, I think, a decent Browns team, a team that has a pass rush, a team that was running the ball on them and then couldn't once they fell down 14. But, has a good secondary.
Yeah. I couldn't give a crap what he has to say. I
Belichick,
like what he
Coach
wears.
of the Year? Coach of the Year for you?
Well, I've said that in the beginning of the year. I gave that out. And the Chargers coach is like the number one all through.
Staley.
Like, that Staley, that's falling apart a little. I don't know what that is. You can count on that team. They are the Vikings of the AFC, I think, right now, and they lost to them. And
I would say it's Vrabel.
Everybody's looking up at the Chiefs. Yeah.
Vrabel and Belichick, I would say, would be the two right now. Because Tennessee being 8-2, they lose Henry. They had a COVID thing at the beginning of the year. Julio Jones has given them basically nothing except for like 2 games.
Well, I said it was Staley, but it was Kingsbury, I think, was favored going into this week with the 1 loss. And now it looks like they could sit. I mean, they could sit Kyler. They have a bye after this week, so they might just sit him again. And, they have a good enough record that they're definitely going to make the playoffs.
Today featured the greatest regular season moment we've had since I've known Kyle. I've known Kyle his whole life, but since we've been hanging out watching Pats games, this Jacoby Myers not scoring a touchdown thing was like a real crazy streak. He played his entire career, 39 games. He'd thrown a touchdown, somehow hadn't caught one. And it became like this weird subplot of the season of like, how is this possible? This guy's probably our best red zone person that we have other than Hunter Henry. And he would catch one. It would be a flag down, called back, like all kinds of crazy stuff. And then he finally got one in garbage time. and the entire team ran off the sidelines to jump on him. It was like a game-winning touchdown because he's like this beloved teammate. And we were pumped because it was like, this is ridiculous. How has this guy not caught a touchdown yet? Like 200 guys a year catch touchdowns in the NFL, right? 250? Right, yeah. I don't even know the number.
He had it coming for sure.
So the fact that the whole team, I don't want to sound corny, but the whole team runs down and it's just like, it's one of those teams. Like they really like each other. They pull for each other. And it really does remind me of the early 2000s.
You have like a Rudy moment. It was a Rudy moment.
Yeah, it was good.
But he's been, coach doesn't put the guy in. Yeah, well, that's how it was. Why don't you give the defense some credit? Hightower, Wise,
I love
all
it.
These guys, Van Noy, that was some effort. Yeah.
Duggar. Yeah, Phillips has been great. We have safeties that make plays. I really like this Pats team. And you go through, it's like Tennessee's 8-2. Mm-hmm. They seem vulnerable. Buffalo, we'll see. We'll see when they play. Baltimore 6-3. They lost on Thursday night to the fucking Dolphins. Mm-hmm. And then KC, you figure 6-4. Let's put them in. So Tennessee, Buffalo, New England, Baltimore, KC. We'll just put them in just to do it. You still need 2 playoff teams. Here's the rest of the list. Pittsburgh 5-3-1, Cincy 5-4, Vegas 5-4. Looks like they're collapsing. Chargers 5-4. They haven't looked good for 4 weeks.
Right.
Indy's 5-5 with Wentz. Denver's 5-5 looked horrific today and kind of, I don't know what happened with Bridgewater on that on the pivotal fumble thing, but that was one of the weirdest plays of the year.
2 gloves might need 3 gloves. I don't know what he was thinking there. Not tackling, reaching out at all.
And then Cleveland's 5-5, so we still need 2 playoff teams out of that list I mentioned. I don't like any of them.
Here's the interesting thing: not only those tough divisions, AFC North and AFC West, and before that game tonight, no one in those divisions won a game this week, including going back to Thursday night. Not only do they have to play themselves within the division, they play each other. The AFC North plays the AFC West, so every week you're going to have a playoff game. Like Cincinnati plays Vegas next week. Like every week there's going to be a playoff game or 2. Interdivision between those 2. So Patriots don't have to worry about that. You did play the Jets twice already and the Texans, but you have the AFC South and you have some other games winnable for sure. You're making the playoffs. I don't think it's a question at this point.
Well, we got the Falcons on Thursday, which we'll talk about when we do Guess the Lines.
Yeah.
Tough week to catch the Falcons coming off a disastrous loss.
Yeah.
Figure they're not going to be that bad 2 weeks in a row. Then they have the Titans week 12. Perfect timing to catch them.
Yeah.
At Bills Monday night bye week. The week 14 bye. It's ridiculous. Wow. Then they go at Colts, home Bills, home Jags, at Dolphins. And I think 11-6 seems reasonable for that thing. And can Buffalo still has at the Saints a week from now, 2 against the Pats. They're at Tampa. They got a Jets one. So who knows? We'll see. Your team answered some questions. I think they needed a game like that. I guess that we're just going to have games this year that we just throw out and decide never to talk about again. Last week, you literally couldn't throw the ball against Denver. Right. This week, Jalen Hurts, all he did was throw the ball against Denver and pick them apart. And you have a better quarterback and better receivers and couldn't move the ball.
I haven't seen it really where a team is so good on the road. And we saw Bridgewater's record against the spread and as an underdog, as a road underdog and everything. They went out there and they kicked the crap out of Dallas. They went in 30-0 going into the fourth quarter. But I was worried, Simmons. I really was. I was like, oh, man, we might regress back to what I'm used to. Lose to Denver, lose a dumb game to Atlanta. Then we have to go to Kansas City the next week. And then the Thanksgiving game, which is always a riot. So, but no, we stepped up. The defense was great. Dak is back. I think Dan Quinn wanted to send a message to the Falcons. It's like, we're going to take over.
Sure seemed like
today.
It. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was, it's nice when you don't have to worry about it. And now I don't have to worry about them beating the Chiefs. It's all gravy. Yeah.
That game was off one of the 4 TVs in my house. Like
that was it.
2 minutes into the second quarter. It's like, okay, we've seen enough here. So you got Green Bay at 8-2 and Dallas at 7-2. Arizona at 8-2, but falling because all their best skill guys are hurt. Rams 7-2, just lost Woods. And then Tampa 6-3. And we should talk about them in a second. So I have 5 playoff teams I like. And then it gets weird again, where it's like the Saints 5-4 with Trevor Siemian.
The NFC,
Carolina's 5-5. Like they might actually play Cam. Right. Minnesota, which I think is a 4-5. They could easily be 6-4 6-3. Atlanta, cross them off. Philly, who knows? Because they
don't
play
sleep on
NFC.
the Eagles.
Yeah, don't sleep on the Eagles.
I think the Eagles are okay. Like out of that bunch, like Eagles, Falcons. If one of them has to get the 7th seed, like the Eagles are running the ball. They have like 680 yards rushing the last 4 games or something crazy.
Yeah, as soon as Miles Sanders, who's on 2 of my teams, went out, they decided to run the ball. Yeah, there's some good offensive stats with the Eagles the last 3 weeks. Even Seattle at 3-6. Their defense at least has come around. Now they have to figure out if they can get Wilson healthy. But
yeah, that was disappointing. Remember, take it easy with the videos, Russell. About 18 hours a day, like you got shut out.
Right.
How was he not? He practiced at least this week. Like Rodgers didn't even practice. They both looked like crap in the first half. But
that was a truly awful game.
Yeah,
I think 8 and 9 is in play for a 7 seed wild card in the NFC.
I agree.
I think most people think, oh, it'll be 9 and 8 or 10 and 7. I honestly think 8 and 9 could get there. If you look at it now, Carolina would be the 7 seed at 5 and 5. They could easily finish 8 and 9. And like the Niners tomorrow night, if I'm the Niners, I'm like, we beat the Rams tomorrow. We're good. Like, let's go. Let's make it happen. The most important thing here, we might be able to bet against Cam Newton in a playoff game. I don't want to jinx it. But if they can sneak into a 7 seed, get a 2 seed, play Green Bay, Dallas, something like that. But I think out of all those teams, I think your team's probably in the best shape because you have an easy schedule the rest of the way, right? You still have a bunch of NFC East games left.
We have 2 against Washington and 1 against the Giants. Now, Washington look good. I mean, maybe the NFC East is back from what we saw, with the Washington beating Tampa and Philadelphia. Well, they're not.
Chase Young's out for the year.
Yeah, but they're not going to lay down these teams just yet. Well, you might have counted the Giants to just like pack it in week 12, but I think we're going to see some competitive games out of them. But I'm not as worried as I probably should be.